So today I'm joined with Gurprit Kaur Benji, and I'm going to hand it over to you, Benji, to introduce yourself, your Sikhi journey, and how you started seva with Basics of Sikhi.
Hanji, Waheguru ji ka Khalsa, Waheguru ji ki Fateh. My name is Gurprit Kaur. Thank you for having me, in this doing your podcast. So, just a bit about how I got on my journey with Sikhi. I grew up in a very standard Punjabi family, a Gurdwara, Sunday Gurdwara going family. Grew up with my grandparents, my dad. I come from a broken family, so my parents were divorced when I was quite young. Mm-hmm. So Sikhi for me, since I was young, was all about going to Gurdwara on Sunday, sitting with the Gani, listening to Kirtan, Sach Pardapur, that kind of thing. So it was more like a routine. Other than that, it was nothing much. I think when I was in high school, and then I was 16 years old, I remember, where we had this group of Sangat youth who came from West Malaysia. So where I stay in Malaysia, we don't have much like Sikhi exposure or Sangat there, or camps and so on, nothing much, because it's so remote, that area. So we had this group of youth who came from West Malaysia, where they run a lot of camps, annual camps, monthly camps, and they came to our Gurdwara and they had this weekend camp, and I was so fascinated by them. How they did Kirtan, how they spoke, they really inspired me to, build my relationship with Guru Granth Sahib Ji, looking at Guru Granth Sahib Ji not just as a poti, because that's what we saw Guru Granth Sahib Ji as, when we were young, but looking at Guru Granth Sahib Ji as a living Guru. So you could speak to your Guru, you could cry to your Guru, you could, basically your Guru becomes your friend. So that kind of relationship started building up. And then I started becoming very close to the Bani of Asadivar, because every Sunday, it was a thing with Gyani Ji where I would read the Shakke, so, reading the Podiya, the Salok, I would read the translations. So there was an interest to know what Gurbani was speaking about. So I would read the translations of Asadivar. And Asadivar is one Bani where Guru Nanak Dev Ji speaks a lot about reality of life, like fake, what's real, what's fake, Pakhanda in this world, about like the truth about Paramatma. And so that got me thinking a lot about, where I want to be. And I learned about Amrit. So imagine, I didn't know what Amrit was before that. Like, what's Amrit Shakana, I thought I was already a Sikh. Is there something more than that? And then, so then this interest came up to take Amrit. And but because I still had a year from completing my high school, and my family was like, no, you need a proper diet. Once you take Amrit, you have to become vegetarian. You're gonna, you're not gonna get all the proteins and stuff like that. You need that for your education. It's such an important exam. And so I agreed to that, because again, like, there was not much Sangat and all, but I went to the annual camp that year, and I learned all about the kakars, all about the rahat, and it was so amazing. The pool was very strong, to take Amrit, although I didn't know in its entirety what it was, but I just wanted to take it. So I came back home and I started practicing for that one whole year. I started practicing my rahat. Even before taking Amrit, I started wearing my kakars, keeping my case, even like tying the star on weekends. And think about this, Benji, like coming from a small town where you don't have like many amritaris, like you can count, with your fingers how many amritaris are there. And then suddenly there's a bibi who has decided out of nowhere to take Amrit, a young girl. And on top of that, started tying a dastar, which nobody has done. So there was a lot of like questions in the society, like, what is she doing? My grandmother, I mean, bless her, but she's so naive, and she would ask like, oh, tu dastar bane laggi, tu munda bangi, you have become a boy, and you're not going to get married, nobody's going to get married to you. But all of that didn't really bother, because I think the desire to just take Amrit and belong to my Guru was more than what people would say. So I started reading Nitane Baniya, that was a very new step to me as well, reading Japji Sahib, Jaap Sahib, and all the others Baniya, which I was not even exposed to. So, and I remember my routine changed early in the morning, where I used to get up at 6. I started getting up at 5, just spending an hour to read my Nithanim Baniya. And I would never forget that 1 year, where I was doing all of that. It's one of the best moments in my life, because all that time I spent in experimenting with my Baniya, with my Rahat, it really just pulled me much closer to Guru Sahib. And then every day without fail, I would do Ardas as a Chipacha, bless me with your Sikhi, bless me with your Amrit, and also help these people around me to understand what path this is. Like, it was not their fault, to judge me or to question me, but it's just that we just didn't know. It's all about ignorance, right? This path of Sikhi as well, like Guru Sahib speaks about, like, there's two paths. A man is standing at a junction, and there's two paths ahead of us. One is the path of ignorance, and one is the path of knowledge. The path of ignorance is led by ego, right? And the path of knowledge is led by Naam, which is Paramatma. So a lot of us are on that path of ignorance, where we don't even know our true self. We don't even know why we are here, So I took that Amrit, and you wouldn't believe it, Benji. Like, my life changed so much, because from not having Sangat that could inspire me, because the question came was like, okay, Sachi Pacha, this is how I spoke. Like, remember I said that relationship with Guru Sahib became like more like a friend. So I spoke to Guru Sahib and said, Maharaj, I've taken your Amrit. What now, what's after this, right? And you wouldn't believe it, because I was applying for scholarships. I was applying to get into colleges and all of that. And Guru Sahib just picked me up from where I was, from where I was born, my place, without any Sangat. He just picked me up and brought me to an entirely new place, which was full of Sangat. Basically, I came to West Malaysia, migrated there, studied there. And that was when I found my Palvinder Singh, which is now my husband. He became such a great Sangat. He introduced me to all these gurdwaras, to all this great group of people who were already practicing Sikhi. They were Amritari. So, they guided me so much. I went for Kirtan Samagams. I went for camps. And basically, things just started, catching up from there. I think this was in 2000... very recently, 2015, I got married in December. And 2016 in March was when I was discovered with cancer. So so amazing. Like, basically, like, my childhood, like, I have gone through a lot of physical pain. Like, I had 2 heart procedures when I was 13 and 14 years old. And then, so that became okay. And then when I got married, 3 months after I got married, I suddenly was discovered with cancer, Hodgkin's lymphoma. Yeah. And then I remember sitting on my hospital bed that day, and it was actually, basically, it was during this period, March, going into April, 5 years ago, basically, where I was, going through all the surgeries, biopsies, tests, and everything. And it was on Vasaki Day when I got my results that told me you had Hodgkin's lymphoma. So I was sitting on my bed, and I was thinking, like, like how I sighed now. I was like, oh, Waheguru, like, ki kariye na? So now what? Again, I had that 2 choices. One path was I could cry about it. I could blame everybody in the world about it. I could blame Sache Pasha, like, I took your Amrit, I became a second. Why am I going through this? I could have gone down that road. But I chose not to. And I chose the path where, okay, so this is, it's definitely I can't blame anyone, because Gurbani says that de dos na kis deo kise dos karma apne hai. That the fault is in our karam, right? So I say that this is definitely because of my past karam, or stuff like that. So acceptance kicked in, and it was all about looking forward, that okay, now my ardas was Sache Pacha, um I was grateful because Maharaj showed me actually that I was having this disease. Like, how we discovered was completely another interesting story, because I had just swollen leg and like pimples on my leg, and I had so many tests done, and doctors were like, oh, it's just allergic reaction, nothing, nothing so bad. Until like one day I was working and my leg was so swollen, my boss told me, Gurprit, you're not coming to work tomorrow, you go to emergency department tonight and you get it checked. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna do that. So I did that, and then they got me admitted, and a lung specialist came to see me, and he said, oh, I think we're going to do some x-rays and all for your chest to see what's wrong. And I said, doc, hey doctor, but the issue is in my leg. Why are you doing a lung x-ray? Like, are you okay? And he was like, yeah, but you know what, and apparently he was the only specialist that was available on that day to come and see patients. And he was like, yeah, but you know what, let's just get that out of the way, like let's just get it done, and there's nothing, then we know it's nothing. But I still doubted him, like, this doctor doesn't know what he's doing, like the issue's in my leg. And then he did the x-ray, and he was like, I need to see this. And I was like, oh my goodness. And I took it that Sache Pacha was trying to tell me that you have this issue, because I had no symptoms like breathing difficulties or sweating. I had nothing of that. So so my ardas is like, Sister Pasha, thank you that you actually showed me that I have this disease now, which I wouldn't have figured out if I didn't come in, if you didn't give me all this like other symptoms and all. And so now I need you to give me strength. I need you to be with me, because going through chemotherapy was going to be another difficult journey. Like people give up. A lot of people give up in the middle of chemotherapy, because you can't go through the pain. It's just too much, right? One of my friend actually succumbed to cancer because she couldn't go through with the chemo. And so I told Sache Pasha, like, please just give me the strength, be with me, throughout this journey. And 6 months in 2016, 6 months, I had chemotherapy cycles back to back. And this was the turning point in my life, right? I really contemplated a lot about life, a lot about death, because basically, for me, it's like, now that I have cancer, I know this is perhaps one of the ways that I'm going to die, basically death, you are reminded about reality that everybody is going to die one day. And all this time, we are running to have a good life. We are running our day on day-to-day basis. We forget about death. We forget that, Avan Jane Khel Banaya, that Avan Jane, the life and death is just a game. It's a part of this whole cycle, and we just forget about it. So I was constantly thinking about it, and I asked myself this question: how do I want to live my remaining life, which I don't know how much time is left. And before this, my goal in life was all about money, having a house, I have to have a bungalow, I have to have 2 cars, and then all that. But then after that, during this period, I gave up my job without thinking about how am I going to get money to pay my debts and so on. And my husband was like, are you sure? We are not really doing well financially. And I said, I don't know, I just have that calling inside of me. My heart was telling me, just resign, and then let's see what happens. I resigned in June, and within the same month, someone sent me this application form for Basics of Sikhi Academy. It was so random. It was so random. And I was like telling her, like, why are you sending me this for? What is it? What is Basics of Sikhi? I didn't know what it was, And she said, oh, you just go to their website, see what it is, try it out. I think it will be good for you. So I went to the website and I was so interested with what they were offering. And then I applied for it. And then my Ustad, Payamardi Singh, he interviewed me and then I got accepted. And that's when, I just took that leap of faith and I joined Basics of Sikhi Academy. I did the course for 6 months. That was in 2017, 2018, where I joined Basics Sikhi Academy. And then that 6 months I was again evaluating my life, like, okay, what's after this? And I found a lot of joy when I was talking about Sikhi, because I think a lot of experiences in my life really helped to understand Sikhi and to help other people as well. So that's when I came back to Malaysia, and then I started Southeast Asia, Basics of Sikhi Southeast Asia's seva, where, I started traveling a lot, Indonesia, Thailand, started the first course camp in Indonesia, and in Malaysia, and then we went to India, and basically Maharaj has been guiding since then in my life. So that's a brief introduction about my Jeevan.
Thank you, Benji, for sharing that. I had no idea about your cancer story either. So, and it actually links really well to the podcast today as well. But before that, you're so strong, so strong, and I think that is so inspirational for so many people, Benji. That in itself is going to help a lot of people that are listening to it as well, that go through go through physical pains, and sometimes you kind of question, why me? But the way that you the outlook that you had on it, it's really strong, and I find it inspirational myself as well. But yeah, as I was saying, the topic for today, what I wanted to discuss with you, and I know you've done talks on this before as well, is having a purpose in life. And I think as kids as well, you kind of reach a stage where you want to know your purpose in life. You have all these questions and you want all the answers. So how can we define having a purpose in life, and why is there such a longing to know what our purpose in life is?
So having a purpose in life is so important, because my whole childhood, I didn't have that idea at all, right? So I was living my life based on what society has decided for me, what my family had decided for me, what was the norm, right? Which was work and money, make a family, and then that's it. Just a cycle, a day-to-day cycle, earning money, going to work, and all of that. But it's not wrong. But why are we doing this? That's the question, right? Why are we doing this? And why am I here? Like, I did a katha on Basant Ki War in UK 2 years ago. And then while I was exploring this Bani of Basant Ki War, actually, Guru Sahib has told us there's 3 fundamental questions that each one of us must ask ourselves, and we must have answers to this, right? Number 1 is, who am I? So this was a question I had when I was going through that 6 months of chemotherapy, and even that 6 months in Basics Academy as well. I kept asking myself, who am I? Number 2 is, why am I here in this world? And number 3 is, where am I going after this? So when we want to try to figure out our purpose of life, and the thing is, purpose of life, there's one big aim, big purpose of life that Gurbani tells us that each one of us must have, should have actually. And then there's also the individual purpose of lives that each one of us have, and that could be different from one another, right? So these 3 questions are, even though they're very generic, but they're still very individual. So who am I, right? And Gurbani says, Mantu Jot Swarup hai, that Atma Paratma Eko Kare, that you are actually a part of a greater, creation, something greater than just this body, but you are a part of Paramatma. You are a part of that creator who has created you, right? And the second question is that, why am I here? So Gurbani says, Prani tu aya laha land. So the question is, why am I here? Gurbani says, Prani, or Prani means basically someone who breathes. So us, right? Living beings. To Aya, you have come to gain a profit, right? So we are here to gain a profit. we don't want to leave this world empty-handed. We don't want to leave this world at a loss. And then the question is, where am I going? Basically, this is a question that leads to our purpose of life as a seeker, right? Which is Pai Parapat Manuk de Huria. So this Shabad that we read every day in our Rera Sabdibani, Pai Parapat Manuk de Huria, that we have obtained this human body, Gobin Vilan ki eh teri bariya. So where am I going is that I'm going to meet Gobin. I'm going to unite myself back to the creator from which I came from, right? So what I do here in this world is going to help me, is going to, bring me back to my creator, to Paramatma again. And so so that's the big purpose, the greater purpose in life for each human being, that we are a part of the creator, Waheguru, or Ram, Allah, all these different names that we put for God. It's the same thing, right? We are a part of God, Waheguru. So I'm going to call Waheguru here. And what we do here with this human body is just going to help us to get back to Waheguru, right? So what we can, I wouldn't say control, but what is within our hands is what we do in this world, what we do with this body. So then you have the individual purpose of life. Like for me was to achieve this greater purpose in life, which is to become one with Waheguru, because I told myself that that's it. I don't want to come back to this world, because it's too much. It's too much of a hassle, having to go through studying again. Oh my goodness. I was like, Guruji, I'm not going to go through all these exams. I cannot, having to study like every day and sit for exams and going through the stress. And, oh my goodness, I'm going to fail. I'm going to pass,
Yeah,
and then having to choose, having to choose what degree you're going to do, and then figuring like, oh my God, am I going to get a job? Because I did medical science and I'm not even practicing what I studied, So I told Paramatma, I was like, Sachipacha, I do not want to come back into this world and having to go through all of that again. So you know what? I want to make sure that I earn my profit in this world, and I don't want to leave this world at a loss, right? So then my individual purpose of life is that I want to serve my Pantha with whatever remaining breath I have left, with whatever remaining strength I have, with this body. I want to serve my Panth. And how, and this purpose of life, Benji, it should be one. This how you figure out what your purpose of life is, and whether it is your purpose of life, is if it gives you joy. If it gives you that fulfillment, that whenever you do something that, that is towards your purpose of life, it should be giving you that joy and fulfillment, not stress and, like anxiety that, oh, I didn't do it, but it should be fulfilling. So when I was doing my course for 6 months with Basics, and after that was when I was like really contemplating that, okay, what am I going to do with my life now? And then I found that I find joy in speaking to people, speaking about Sikhi, speaking about my guru, and inspiring other people to walk on the same path as my guru has told me to. Then I decided that I want to do seva, I want to do parchar. And it's funny because I do not know anybody, I come from a small town, so I do not have contacts. I do not have people that and so on. So that wasn't a challenge. So for me, it was like, it's okay, I'm gonna start small, Hana. And so it gave me joy when I see those who were just like me, grew up in a family or grew up in a society where there was no Sikhi parchar or Sikh exposure to Sikhi. But then when they learn about their guru, when they learn like, oh my goodness, Sikhi is so amazing. So when I see that joy, and when I see them being inspired and walking towards their guru and, telling their sakya, they've taken Amrit, and many of them, like, they don't even, they didn't know how to speak Punjabi or learn Gurmukhi, but them making that effort, that gave me so much of joy. And I was like, this is very fulfilling for me. because it gave me joy to see someone else becoming closer to my guru as I was, And so that was my purpose of life. And that is still my purpose of life, to serve my panth. Hana? And so again, so for other people, it could be something different. It could be that they just want to jap naam their whole life, do so much of kamai for naam, their whole life, that will lead back to one as well. And then for so many is that they just want to serve humanity. You see, this is the individual purpose of life, their goal, their purpose in their life. They want to serve humanity. Many through their education, through like I have so many friends in Sangha that they are doing their masters, they're doing their PhDs. And when I asked them, like, what's, like for me it was different. I just gave up my education. I didn't want to do all that, even though I love science. And I asked them, like, hey, what about you? Like we are Gurupan, like she's also Amritari, she's also the Startari Bibi, but she's like, until now she's still studying, she's doing PhD in neuroscience. And then I asked her, like, what's your purpose? And then she says that she wants to use her education to serve the panth. So you see, it's amazing to see that individual goal, individual purpose could still be beneficial, could still lead you to the greater purpose of life, which is going back to ik. Is this how we maneuver through our life, through, what our interest is, what gives us joy to, lead us back to that ik. So it was amazing to see that other people had this other purpose in their life. And it's again, so like I said earlier as well, individual purpose of life could be different, but on a greater scale that Gurbani is telling us is that all this purpose, that all these goals that we achieve in this Jivan, they will lead us back to where we came from, which is Ik, which is Paramatma.
And do you think that there is a period of time in your life where you have to find that purpose? Can people find their purpose in life, or that excitement that you've found? Is there a time in someone's life where they have to find it? Can it come later in life? Because I think a lot of people will go through their lives wanting to find their purpose in life, but don't find it until later on, and that upsets people, that stresses people. But how can people feel comfortable with knowing that if they don't know it now, they will know it in the future?
There is no time frame. Like we cannot Sikhi or even life as it is, there is no set time frame that Guru Sahib has put that, okay, by the age of like 10 you should figure out what you want in your life. This is again this mindset has been put by the society, where like I grew up like that, where okay, by the time you're in high school, you need to figure out, by the time I was 13, I need to figure out which stream I wanted to go into, art stream or science stream. And it was a stress because I couldn't figure out what was my interest, right? And then by the time I was 15, I was given that choice again, that, okay, now you need to decide. If you want to go into science stream, you need to get an A in science and maths. And if not, then it's automatically art stream for you. So the society has set such standards that by this age you must achieve this, by this age you must achieve this. But Sikhi is not like that. In Sikhi, each one of us has our own time period. We are on our own journey, even though the goal, the purpose, the destination is the same for everybody, but our journey is different. I didn't even know there was such thing that finding your purpose in life until I went through such a dukkha, which led me to think about life and death, about this body, about what I was doing in this life, my life. Even though I have taken Amrit, but I was all about, working, saving up money, getting a house, buying a car, basically trying to secure my future. But a future that I didn't even know it was going to be like that. So now if I look back in my life and think about like when I was 13 years old and think about it, oh yeah, when when I'm 23, I'm going to get cancer. I'm going to suddenly change my perspective in life and I'm going to be a pracharak. No, we wouldn't have known that, right? Because if I had known, I wouldn't even study. Like, that's it, So, but so there is no set time period. Some people find their purpose in life way much earlier, and I would say that is perhaps because of their sangat, right? That the people that you mix around with, and that's why in Sikhi, sangat is a very important aspect in life. The people we mix around with. And so if you're in Sikh Sangat, Sat Sangat, and then of course the kind of conversations or the kind of thoughts that you will have is, okay, Sikhi is important, we have to take Amrit, we have to get closer to Guru Sahib, and automatically then exposure to Gurbani, and then understanding Gurbani will lead you to think questions like, oh, what makes Guru Sahib happy? What am I doing with this body, right? So Sangat plays a really important role in us figuring out our purpose of life. Now, Sangat, there are many types, right? So there's Sat Sangat, the true Sangat that Guru Sahib speaks about Naam. Sat Sangat kaisi jane, jithe eko naam vakhane, that only speaks about Waheguru. But then we have all these kind of Sangat around us in the world that is Kul Sangat. So, people who you mix around with, but they don't lead you, they don't inspire you towards finding a purpose of life. So that could be like the other type of sangat, So one is that, but then again, like there is no set period in time, and we don't have to, blame ourselves. I think it's very important to understand, like, even though we go through, even though like, how can I say this? Okay, someone who finds their purpose of life at an early age, someone who finds the purpose of life like middle as a youth, or even later in life when you're 30, 40, 50 years old, right? It's never too late, because the moment we realize, when the realization kicks in, and then it's what we do with that realization. That's more important, right? Time doesn't matter. We can't say that, oh no, I found my purpose of life so late, now I have very limited time to achieve it. No, people can achieve their goal in a year, in a month, in a day, in a breath. Gurbani says, like, just saying Waheguru one time, your life could be sorted out. Like, that's it. You don't come back into the cycle of life and death just by saying Waheguru one time. But that one time of saying Waheguru has to be so meaningful, right? So there is, again, we don't have to blame ourselves and go into that guilt that, oh, I can't figure out my purpose. I'm too late in my life to figure it out. And it's all through Kirpa of Satguruji that this realization comes in. So one is through Sangat, and I feel the second, like, booster kind of thing that would lead you to finding your purpose of life is your life experiences. So when a lot of people go through dukkha, that's why Gurbani says dukkha daru, right? Like, we think about it, how can pain be a medicine? Like, it doesn't make sense, because the whole world is running around finding sukha, because I thought, that peace is in getting thing, getting your buying things, collecting more money and all of that. But when Gurbani says dukkha is daru, is because when we go through dukkha in our life, that's when we really start thinking about the important stuff, like, who are my true friends? What am I going to do with my remaining life that I have? And thinking about, like, all these important questions that Gurbani speaks about. So there is no set time period. Gurbani has never spoken about it. But of course, like, Gurbani has always said that the youth is always the best time to think about these questions, because when we come to our end of life, so when we are, very old and we are now dying bed, then it's a bit, it is too late, because by then your whole life you have revolved around worldly stuff, and then when you're dying, to switch that attention towards Vaheguru could be difficult, but not impossible. There we go. Could be difficult, but not impossible. because Gurbani still says that even at your deathbed, when you're dying, but you think about Waheguru, you could be saved. So look at that, you know? So yeah, it's doable, never impossible.
And you spoke about the ultimate purpose of life, and how, you know, Sikhi and Bajad has affected you, and how it's filled you with so much joy seeing other people being impacted by, you know, the kathas that you do, or the talks that you give. What other benefits are there of finding that purpose in life and expressing it through seva?
So when I found my purpose of life, when I gave up my job in June, so, you know, again, like without figuring out, you know, where my money was going to come from, where am I going to pay my bills and all of that, I think that is a very clear sign, because immediately I was free of worry and anxiety. Because what happens when we, you know, just live on a day-to-day basis and aimlessly living, I would call it, you know, working 9-to-5 job, and then eat, sleep, and then, you know, spend money, earn money, aimlessly living. You're in a constant worry and anxiety that, okay, I need to have enough money in my bank. Oh, now I don't have money to pay my bills. I need to earn this money. If I don't earn, I'm not going to be paying my bills. And this kind of, you know, and society has put that thought in our mind that you don't have a house by the time you're working, you're not doing well. You don't have your own car, you're not doing well. You know, you should be married by this age, you should have kids by this age. And mind you, Benji, like when after I started doing Parchai Seva, the journey of you know, going through dukkha has not ended. You know, it was still there, and I went through 2 miscarriages in you know, in my life after while I was doing seva. And one, this is I would really share this. You know, my first miscarriage was I can't even remember the time, because you see, I'm not really disturbed by it. I think it was 2 years ago. Was it 2 years ago? Where, and that week I had miscarriage. That week I was doing katha on Mata Gangaji, asking for a child from Baba Buddhaji. You know, so imagine having to do that katha, and you just had miscarriage like 3 days ago. You know, and that was the most difficult katha I had to do, because my husband was sitting right in front of me in the sangat, and I had to hold myself back from crying, you know. And he was just looking at me, and he was like, you know, he was looking at me and giving me that dilasa that, you know, koina, like it's okay, you know. So I had like one moment of silence, and I was like telling myself that this is a part of journey and a part of my life, and I've gone through it, but I can't be blaming anyone about it. I can't be worrying about it. So what am I going to do about this, right? This has now, instead of becoming like a dukkha in my life, this has now entered my accounts of experiences in life. So, you know, changing it to a lot more positive, right? So, so one thing that really benefited from me figuring out my purpose of life was that I was free of worry and anxiety, you know, about what the future holds. I'm not worried about where money was coming from. And Benji, trust me, Waheguru, when I started this seva, I mean, I wasn't earning, you know, and so my husband was the sole breadwinner of the house, but yet somehow we just managed to cover our bills. We managed to, you know, just go through our monthly expenses. And it was during that time when I left my job that we actually paid for a down payment for a house. So that was like, we couldn't even, you know, take that back, because paperwork has been done and all that. So when I came back from UK, and I told my husband that I'm gonna start doing Prachar Seva, and he looked at me, he was like, how are we going to pay the bills? Because, you know, the monthly house installment was half of his salary. And I said, we're just going to work it out. But then the worry was not there, like, where is the money going to come from? Because I know that Sir Sirajik Sambahe Thakur Kahe Manpo Karya. Gurvani says, right, that Sir Sirajik Sambahe Thakur, that the Thakur Paramatma has already given us our rizq, so Kahe Manpo Karya. Why, oh mine, are you worried about something that it's already written for you, right? You just need to get it. And so somehow things started working out, Satya Pacha is so great. I got a payout from my insurance, and that really helped a lot, to go through financially. So worry and anxiety financially was gone. Worry and anxiety for the future was gone, because I knew for a fact that I cannot control the future. I don't even know what's in the future, and I cannot be dwelling in the past for all that dukkha I have gone through. So what I have is now. Hana? And one of the Gurbani Pankti that really helps me through this aspect in life, that, the worry, anxiety, thinking about the past, about all the sufferings I've been through, and worrying about the future. Gurbani, this Pankti is like my motto in life. I'm not sure whether you have noticed it, but every day on Instagram I'll be posting is this Pankti. Har japda khin til na kijai meri jindadiye, mat ke jape sah ave ke na ave ram. So you're speaking to your jindadiye, your mind, your soul, that har japda, that while doing Simran, while remembering Waheguru, khin til na kijai. Don't even for a moment, til means be lazy or forgetful, or basically don't be lazy, Mat ke jape, who knows that while you're remembering God, while you're breathing, basically with every breath, mat ke jape sah ave ke na ave ram, who knows whether you will draw the next breath or not, right? So I live by this purpose, that I don't know whether I will have my next breath or not. So I make use of my now moment to the fullest. And one of the book, Benji, like reading books really helps. So one of the books that I read when I was on my journey is The Power of Now. It's a very famous book by Eckhart, and it really resonates a lot with Gurbani. So for someone who still doesn't understand Gurbani, or doesn't know how to read Gurbani, I mean, I would recommend, and if that person is on the search for his or her purpose of life, I would really recommend to read this book, the Power of Now. It's a really great book.
It's funny you say that, Benji, because I've just started that book myself.
Oh wow, you will love it. You will love it.
I just started it. I actually got sent a link to it, like the online thing. Maybe I can put it in the description of the video as well, so other people can have a look at it as well. But I've just started it myself, so I'm excited to read it now.
And on every page there is a reflection. Like how I read it, I mean, I make so much of notes in that book, so that's my personal book, even though my husband gave it to me. No, even though it's my husband's, and then it became mine. So I make so much notes in there, and I relate it to Gurbani, to whatever points that it's made in that book. And how I do it is I read a chapter or I read a passage, I close the book and I reflect on it. That really helps, because then you're not, don't go through that book very fast, because then it'll be information overload. You have to go through it bit by bit and enjoy every passage, because there's so much gyan in it. And it's basically, if we want to translate or understand purpose of life, Gurbani perspective, but in like simpler English version that is, easier to understand, I would suggest this book, The Power of Now. And then when you read Gurbani, there'll be a lot of this kind of moments, like you're like, whoa, this is what Gurbani was saying. Oh, this is what it means. So you will have a lot of that moments, So this is a really good book. And so basically worry and anxiety was gone, and it's still gone. Second thing is that my sangat completely changed. So I was a very I would say that because of a lot of pain in my childhood, coming from a broken family, a lot of suffering, physical sufferings and all of that, there was a lot of negativity that was built up in me. And I just didn't know how to get rid of it or end it. And I saw fault in everybody. I had, different sangat. And basically what my journey when I was going through all that, challenges with chemo, with miscarriages, is that I started thinking a lot about what type of sangat I want to be in, that would inspire me, that would give me that positivity. So my sangat completely changed. I was no longer trying to have like a big circle of friends, but my idea of sangat was quality rather than quantity. So I have, even though now, like I might have so many followers on Instagram, but I don't have many friends. One of my best friend is Satipacha, and my greatest sangat is my husband. So anything that I have doubt, or when I'm just about to enter that space of doubt or worry, or any negative emotion, when I'm just about to enter it, I realize that I'm going to enter in that spot, and then I completely change my environment for my mental state, and then I go and find my positive sangat, my husband, or go to Guru Sahib, or go into sangat and listen to kirtan, listen to katha, do this kind of things that give me that positivity. So then you start really thinking about like the kind of people you want to hang out with in your life, the kind of, basically you really think about how do you want to spend your energy that you have. So now when I meet people, of course in this world you have a lot of people, even within our circle of friends, that do chugli, nindia, talk about others, gossip. And these are not good emotions, because then you're just building up more negativity within yourself. So I asked myself this question: how is the information that you're telling me is going to benefit me? So if it's not going to benefit me, then I'm not interested to listen to it. So that is perhaps one of the reasons why then I have very few people in my life, because then it's more about quality rather than just the quantity, because then you're more clear within your mind, because whatever you let into your mind, your body through the senses really affects your mental well-being, and then again it will affect how you progress in your life, your purpose. So yeah, just few things that really benefited.
I was actually going to say as well, yesterday on my account, I actually posted a quote that was very similar, and it actually gave me the same ideas that you was talking about checking who you allow to be a part of your sangat, and how important that is, and how much of an influence that has on your Sikhi journey, but also just your journey through life in general. And as we continue through life, Benji, is there points where you feel like your purpose in life might change?
As of now, it hasn't, because like I said earlier, the ultimate or the greater purpose of life is to go back to Guru Sahib, go back to Ik, right? So the individual purpose of life that we have should be helping us or guiding us towards that ultimate goal, which is to be with Ik. So like for me personally, that has not changed. I'm still very much into doing pachar, into doing seva. Of course, with all this situation now, traveling is not allowed. So there's like one drawback. I'm really missing all of that. I'm really missing the physical sangat and going to camps and all of that. But there's still ways that I'm finding, like, okay, if that doesn't work, what other ways can I use to fulfill this goal of mine, right? So for me, it hasn't changed. It's still the same. But then it's not wrong to say if your purpose of life changes, because like, remember when I said before I went through that whole phase of after my marriage and all of that, my purpose of life was different. It was all about getting a stable life, having a house, getting a car, stable financial stability and all of that, right? So that was my purpose of life, right? But then, because going through phases, when we go through difficult phases or even other phases in our life, then we tend to re-evaluate our life. And when we re-evaluate, then there is a chance that we will rethink and perhaps even change our purpose of life. So it's not wrong. It will happen. It has happened to me. But then after that, then I'm still on my same goal right now, which is more Sikhi oriented, and it connects with my greater goal in life. So if it does change as well, then it perhaps is due to our, the phases that we go through, the experiences that we go through. And as long as, again, it gives us that joy and fulfillment, and it will help us spiritually to get back to where we came from, which is Ikka, then it should be fine. Unless the purpose of life has really switched completely and has become some weird, some other goal, like trying to hurt other people, or more negative, and then that's when that we really need to evaluate what has gone wrong, and see what changes has come into our life, what negative phases we are going through our life, or the person has gone through their life or his or her life, and then try to help them. So that's when then Sangat comes in as well.
Yeah. And obviously from the switch that you had from what your purpose of life was originally to what it is now, I can only imagine that you must have found so much peace from that switch. But Benji, can you define that peace? Is there a way of explaining what that peace is and how it feels?
So for me was that I would say peace was that I was much more at peace with all the experiences that I was going through. Like I said, that when we go through dukkha, many of us do not see it as a blessing. Even when I was going through my chemo, like when I was telling my family and friends, and then the kind of words that came out from their mouth was that "Sade kere mare karma, kismat sadi mari," this kind of words. And then this shows that we are not at peace with whatever experiences or whatever karam we have to go through, whatever challenges that is put in front of us, right? So for me, being at peace is that I'm no longer blaming anyone for my own life. I'm taking how to say that, it's all 100% on me, right? So that first thing is that, so when I went through my dukkha, that whole chemotherapy and then the whole miscarriage thing, I never sat down and cried about it, or was worried about the outcome and all of that. But rather, I remember when the first miscarriage happened, so I came back from the clinic, I lie down on my couch and I was crying about it. I was crying about it, and then I was thinking to myself, why am I crying about it? Right? It has happened, and it's an experience for me. I've learned about it. Yes, I am sad that I could have had that joy as a mother, but now I don't have it. But when you're at peace with something I've gone through, you look at things positively in your life. So I looked at it that my body became a vessel for this soul, for this jeev, to just pass through its life, its karam, it's karam basically, right? So I didn't see that, oh, I've lost something, but I just saw it that I became a vessel for this soul to come in and then just complete its karam and then leave this world. So looking at things positively, and then I got up from that couch and I was just like, I wiped my tears, I wiped my eyes, and then I went back to doing my house cleaning and other chores and all of that, and preparing my katha for Baba Buddhaji, Mata Gangaji. So being at peace with yourself, and not being concerned. Another one was not being concerned about what people spoke about me or what comments people would have about me. So this was when it relates to the sangat that I mentioned. Like, I have very few people. It was more about qualities. So very few people that I have in my life that I cherish and I look up to. The sangat that inspires me. So Another thing was with the pieces, I was not bothered about what people spoke about me or what comments they would make. Basically, it was one ear in, one ear out, you know? What really mattered to me was, or what my guru would say to me. So that was what mattered most to me, you know? Ustad and India became something that I wasn't really interested in anymore. So I was more at peace. How is peace defined? Peace, in Gurbani comes as Sahaj Avastha, right? Peace is also Ananda. Ananda, where you're at bliss. You're not affected by sukha and you're not affected by dukkha. So if we want to look at peace, we would look at an ocean. This analogy has been used many, many times. You look at an ocean, and then the ocean is your state, right? When it's calm, it's your Saj Avastha state. But then all the waves, that the ups and downs of the waves, these are the ups and downs in your life. And they're bound to come. They're bound to be there, right? But then eventually they just merge back into the ocean. So your Saj Avastha is that you're not affected by the ups and downs in your life. You're always an Ananda, that I don't care, or not to say I don't care, but Sukha and Dukkha, you understand and you accept that Sukha and Dukkha is a part of your life. And when and as they come, you just go through them, but you're not affected by it. You're not going to let these Sukha and Dukkha take a toll in your life and affect you emotionally, negatively, and so on. And Ananda, the peace that we're talking about here, being in a Saj Avastha, that calm state, it comes only from the one who is in Sahaj, who is in Ananda, right? And who is the one who is in Ananda? Who is the one who is in Sahaj Avastha? Is only Paramatma. Guru Govind Singh tells us, na, Sada Sachdanand, Sarvang Parnasi, that Satya Pacha, Paramatma is the one who is the basically, if you want to describe Paramatma, then Paramatma is Ananda. Paramatma is Satta, means eternal, true, is not temporary, you know, was there, is there, will be there, constant, unchanging. Chitta means the one who knows kat ke antar ki janat, right? The one who knows each being in and out of us. And Ananda Sarup, the one who is constantly in bliss, unaffected, unchanging. And deep down, Benji, like when we understand Gurbani says that Mantu Jot Sarup hai, that you are the Sarup, you are the form of Paramatma. Atma, Paratma, Eko Kare. Gurbani speaks about that you are a part of the Paramatma, which means that deep down, your true self is also Satchit Ananda, right? And it's amazing because like now I'm learning Brahmvidya with Swami Ram Singh Ji, and so another eye-opening, because like the thirst, another thing that now that I'm speaking about this, another thing, what happens when we figure out our purpose of life, and automatically then when you learn about your true self, there's no interest in trying to please the world, in trying to, you know, fit into the world, into the society, you know. You want to fit into the idea of what Guru Sahib has you know, told us, which is being that Satchit Ananda Sarup, you know. So you learn, okay, how do I become a Satchit Ananda Sarup? So like I'm learning this Brahmvidya from Swami Ram Singh Ji, and it's just how to explain, but it's eye-opening, it's so refreshing, it's enlightening, and there's so much of like Waheguru moments, you know, when you're learning about your true self, that wow, I didn't know that this is inside of me. You know, that peace is actually within me. I don't find peace from the outside. I just find peace within me when I when I clear out all those layers of negativity, all those layers of the society norms that is set on me. When I just clear this out, you know, like how we clean our house, we sweep our house, we declutter, and suddenly you go like, oh my goodness, I didn't realize my house is so clean, my house is so nice, you know. So like it's the same thing. It's the same thing. When you declutter your mind, you clean your mind, you clean yourself from inside, you know, and cleaning yourself also comes with cleaning your senses, which means like, you know, what you let into your ears. So chugli in India, what you let into your eyes, watching social media, watching all these, you know, videos, movies that are not really good. And then what you let into your mouth, your tongue, you know, what you wear, all these things. So this is also the cleaning process. And when you clean from the outside, automatically your mind from inside cleans as well. And then you will realize that, wow, peace has been inside of me. I just couldn't see it because how messy my mind was, how dirty and full of clutter I was in, you know. So when we figure out, you know, the first three questions, who am I, what am I doing here, where am I going, and then that leads to finding our purpose is doing Naam Simran, right? So what should I do? Okay, I need to find Sangat who are doing Naam Simran, who are doing Kamai. So they could inspire me, they could tell me how to do it. Second thing, okay, maybe I should read biographies of those good sticks like Pai Rama Singh Ji, Pai Ranveer Singh Ji, who are Naam Kamai wale, you know? And then doing things that leads you or inspires you, constantly reminds you to Japanam, you know? So automatically when you figure out your purpose of life, whole process, you'll be so surprised that you will find your true self, which is that peaceful state of mind, you know, which is, it's you, it's within you. It's not outside, it's within you, you know? So there you go.
But when things happen that are outside of our control, that can sometimes impact people's peace and also, of course, our purpose in life. But how can you maintain the peace that you've now found, knowing that something has happened that is outside of your control?
So, yes, that's a very good question you asked. Now is the maintaining part, because to go back into, you know, the whole decluttering thing could be easier as well, right? The maintenance is very important. I mean, as a human being, I'm not going to say I'm perfect as well. When I went through, you know, that phase of chemotherapy and all of that, even within that 6 months, I had times where I've broken down. One of the most the strongest memory or the strongest breakdown I had was when I lost all my case. I was sitting down in my room and I just washed my hair, and you know what chemotherapy does, right? It basically you lose your hair. And so I was washing my hair and I could see my hair just like, you know, flowing down with the party, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe it's just, you know, it's a part of it, it's starting already. But as I combed my hair and just with, you know, I held my hair in my arm, and one whole gucha came out, and I was bald immediately, and I cried so much because how much I loved my hair. You know, case basically it was all for that case that Guru Sahib has given Amrit Didat, and now I'm losing it. You know, and then at that point, you're just taken away by that pain, by that suffering, and that's all it's in your mind, that, oh no, I've lost it, you know, what's happening to me. I think a very strong thing, a very important thing that we need to do when you're about to go down that road of blame, suffering, depression, you know, overthinking, worry, is that we need to realize and be very aware of our mind or mental state at that point. So I was very aware, and I'm still very aware that when I cry or that when I'm upset, that I'm upset about it. I don't know how to explain it, but sometimes we're not aware of even our own emotions, right? But the thing is that I'm aware about it. Okay, I'm upset about this, and then immediately, then, you know, like how Guru Amar Das says that we should speak to our mind. Like in another side, Guru Sahib says there's two ways to speak to your mind. A man pyarya, you speak to your mind with love. Then A man chanchala, you speak to your mind, you scold your mind, you know, you beat your mind, you curse your mind, right? So at that point of realization that I am going down this road of depression, like how I almost went down the road of depression when I was having that miscarriage and when I lost my keys. When I was so aware of it that I started talking to myself, why am I feeling like this? Why am I feeling like this? Okay, what am I going to get out of it? How long do I want to feel like this? So I asked myself this question: how long do I want to feel like this? Why am I feeling like this? Okay, what is going to come out of me feeling like this? Right? And at that point, because you're switching your whole concept, uh, you know, and instead of being in that dukkha and letting it take over you, you're asking yourself these questions that make you think that, oh yeah, okay, so what am I going to get out of it? So then when you're thinking about it, then you go like, but the answers come to you, but it's a part and parcel of life. It's going to come and I'm going to get it back. Now I've lost it, but I will get it back. Right? So you look forward to getting your gaze back, and then you look forward to that little joy when you see your eyebrows growing back. I have unibrow, and then so I'm like, initially I wasn't happy with having a unibrow, but then when I lost it, and now I'm like, no, I want to get it back. So now that I have my unibrow, I'm so happy, I'm so content with it, and then people will be judging and saying, oh, people with unibrow means they're angry people. I was like, okay, for you maybe, but for me, yeah, you'll be surprised at what people say about your own facial expressions. Wow. I get this a lot. People with unibrow are angry people, and I was like, oh, okay, you haven't seen me when I lost it. Maybe you would say I don't even have a bra. I'm like Mona Lisa. It doesn't make a difference to me now when people make that kind of comments, because I'm very happy with it. I'm at peace with how I look. So this really helps with us be bien as well, when we are not even at peace with how we look. We are, why is that so? Because we are so afraid, or we are so attached to what people will say. What people will say about my leg hair, my arm hair, my dastar, my clothing. So we're so afraid of people's comments, and then there's no peace within us, right? We don't feel that peace, because like what I said, you are collecting all that clutter again within your house. You're allowing all that garbage into your house. You can't see that you can be at peace with yourself, right? And nobody can take that away from you. So to maintain that peace is a lot of conversations with yourself. I still talk a lot to myself. Again, some people will think that that's crazy, but who cares? Sikhi, the path of Sikhi is not for the normal-minded people. A path of Sikhi is for crazy people. Those who are willing to risk their life and risk the opinions of the society just to make, just to find peace within yourself, because this path is not for everybody. Guru Sahib says, virle kei ke, is virle vaste, kanyo tikhi. Why has Guru Sahib said that a path of Sikhi is kanyo tikhi, walo nikhi? That this path is not for everyone. Only a crazy person would decide to walk on a knife, and go through all that suffering just to find peace and just to become one with Waheguru.
I love that.
Yeah, so a lot of you will get, even in the path of Sikhi, Guru Sahib will test us, and see how strong we are in order to go through this path. So people will start questioning, like how I said, people were questioning when I was wearing a dastar, and people said, "Tu munda ban gayi, tere na kisi ne biyah nahi karna." And I was like, I don't care, because I believe that Maharaj has chosen someone for me, right? And when I found Palvinder Singh, oh, Benji, you should have seen. I was so, looking forward to bringing him back to my hometown and showing the whole world that, here you go, I found my Singh. And everybody was so amazed. They were so like, wow, Gurprit Kaur, like, you're so lucky you found it. I said, I know, thank you. And then I brought him to my daddy, and I told her, I said, dekh liya daddy, मैं मुंडा लब ले आती नहीं हाँ, so it was all about like, don't worry, everything has a time, you know, we don't have to stress over it. Like what could have happened was that when people said "Tenu munda ni labna," so you have led that thought into your mind, because through your ear, through your senses, you've led that sentence, that thought into your mind, and now your mind is processing it. Oh no, Chetan, you know, you start thinking about it. Oh no, I'm not gonna get a boy. Maybe I should let go of my Dastar. I think Patka would just be fine, you know. I mean, it's just keeping, you allow that thought in your mind. So the mind has to be so resilient, and you need to, how you can maintain that is you need to constantly speak to yourself and say, no, Gurprit. So I would speak to myself loudly. I would also speak to myself like quietly. So when I'm driving in the car, I have a lot of conversations with myself. That's one way I even practice my katha. You know, how am I going to speak to Sangat? And people will look at me after the video, go like, I think this driver is crazy. So because you're speaking to yourself, and but it doesn't matter, because you are walking on your own journey towards Sikhi, towards Guru Sahib. People are not going to walk for you, you know. And everybody's journey is different, but you need to be so aware and so conscious of what you allow within yourself, within your mind, because it's just going to keep growing. Like the moment you planted that seed that, oh, this person has said this to me, oh, I've gone through this in my mind. You've planted that seed of thought in your mind, and now it's going to grow. But what you can do is that the moment the thought, before it even gets planted, you just throw the seed away. You ask yourself, do I want to plant the seed? Am I willing to eat the fruit from this tree, from this seed? No, throw it away, you know? So there you go. You're not allowing yourself to go through that whole process of watering the seed and then seeing it grow, and then, you know, bearing the fruit, which is not going to be good, because you're going to be suffering more and more, right? So there you go. The maintenance comes from the very point of being aware and being conscious of what you're thinking, where your mind is going. That really, really helps. And then immediately you start conversing with yourself, you know, because Gurbani says, Mama mansyo kaj hai, that our kaj, our occupation in this world is with your mind. Man hi mansyo kahe kabira, mansa milena koi, there's nothing like the mind. And then my husband when he's doing a Kandapad role that day, we came across this pankti. Oh, I would like to share this with you. And it's amazing where Guru Sahib says that the mana is the only, this pankti. Nanaka manhi ko man marsi. Only the mind itself can conquer the mind. Only the mind can itself kill all this negativity that's going through in the mind. You know? Manhi ko man marsi. So you really need to work within your mind. So the first step is being conscious, being aware, and then after that, having that constant conversation with yourself, and then, you know, asking these questions, and then you start thinking about it, and then when you can't find answers, or when you find the answers, and then the decision comes in. So then maintenance takes a lot of effort, you know, a lot of effort. But Guru di Kirpa danal, you know, constantly doing that ardas at Satyapacha, you have to give me strength. You know, you have to give me that bala to go through all these challenges in life, because I can't do it on my own. And with Guru's Kirpa, then all this will really, really help as well.
That was so helpful, Benji. I took in so much myself there as well. And I know that people listening are going to take in so much as well. So I'm going to draw this podcast to a close, but I just want to say thank you, Benji, for joining me and talking about all of your experiences, because they are such personal experiences. And I want you to tell everyone where they can find you on Instagram. Hopefully you can tell us the backstory behind your Instagram name as well, because do you know what it is? I watch your Basics of Sikhi videos, and I was seeing, you know, okay, Benji's name's Gurprit Kaur, right? But then I came across your Instagram, and I was like, Gurprit Kaur, and I was like, wait, it's Gurudeep. But then I was like, no, wait, maybe that's Benji's actual name. So hopefully there's a story behind that as well. But yeah, thank you for joining me as well. It's been really nice.
Thank you. Yeah, so the only social media that I have is Instagram and Facebook. So, and both my social media names are Gurprit Kaur. That's because, well, my real name, my actual name is Gurprit Kaur. But I remember that youth camp I spoke to you about, the first camp where a group of, youth came to my place and had that camp, one of the VG there, he actually said that you are Gurudeep Preet, because we were talking about the meanings of our name, and when I found out that my name literally means God's love, Guru's love, Preeta, and I fell in love with that, because that's what I had. I fell in love with my Guru. And so he said, you are Gurudeep Preet. And I love that name since then. And I wished I could change my actual name to Gurudeep Preet, but no, that's fine, So yeah, so my social media names is Gurudeep Preet Kaur. It's just it is no hyphen or underscore and so on. And yes, so that's where everybody can reach me and chat with me. I reply messages very fast. So that's fine.